Hello all, this is my Module 3 discussion video on the resistance training systems proposed by the NASM. Some of the resistance training systems proposed include the single set system, in which one set of an exercise is performed and then an athlete moves on to another exercise. The multiple set training system, in which an athlete performs multiple sets of the same exercise. The superset system, which has a variety of different forms, such as the tri-set, in which an athlete performs 3 exercises back to back. Compound sets, in which an athlete performs 2 exercises of similar movement patterns back to back. Traditional supersets, in which a push and pull are performed back to back, or contrast sets, in which a similar biomechanical movement is performed back to back with one heavy strength focused movement such as a squat, and then one fast explosive movement such as a box jump. There's also high intensity interval training, split routines, which involve focusing on one part of the body at a time in order to maximize volume on that body part. This is usually used for hypertrophy, as well as vertical and horizontal loading. Horizontal loading refers to performing all sets of an exercise and then moving on to the next set, whereas vertical would look similar to a large HIIT circuit in which various exercises are performed back to back to back, with rest before returning to the initial exercise. And it should also be noted, as we will see on the next slide, that these systems can be combined. So I have chosen to focus on a multiple set system with horizontal loading. I think this is probably the most commonly employed system in sports performance training. So as we said, athletes perform multiple sets of a given exercise. All sets are completed with adequate rest periods in between sets. As McGill and Montel discuss, the sets and reps and the intensity can be varied based on an athlete's needs or goals, so this can fit into various blocks of training. It's also worth noting the terminology here. Horizontal loading is referring to how the training session is structured. There is also reference in the training literature to horizontal force vector training. So a barbell hip thrust would be an example in which an anterior to posterior force vector is applied to an athlete. That is a modality. That is not what we're talking about with horizontal loading in this presentation. Some of the pros include adequate rest periods, which allow for high intensity and high quality work. Given that there are multiple sets, we are providing enough volume to improve strength and body composition. It has been demonstrated in the literature that this is a superior method, especially in populations that are resistant to anabolism, such as the elderly. And I also would hypothesize in athletes who have a high training age who require more volume in order to adapt. It also, given the rest periods, allows for multi-joint full body movements such as snatches and cleans. These require more intermuscular coordination and a larger muscle mass, and more likely to transfer to sports performance. A vertical loading system in which athletes perform, say, a bicep curl, a bench press, etc., back to back to back, are more likely to involve single joint movements or at least upper body splits. It's much more difficult to perform things like the Olympic lifts without rest in a vertical loading system. So that's the advantage of the horizontal system. Some of the cons of this system include the long rest periods, which can be boring for athletes. It's often important for coaches to find some kind of prehab movement or something to engage athletes during their rest period, and it can also make training sessions last for hours, which can be less time efficient for those with busy schedules. The lack of density may make this system inappropriate for those seeking muscular endurance adaptations, and it may provide too much volume if we're seeking recovery or tapering, or we are in a deload period. During such a period, a single set system may be a better choice. So how does this system improve performance? As discussed, the adequate rest periods help provide focused, high intensity, and high quality work. There's adequate volume. It has also been demonstrated that even when we match for intensity and time under tension, a 3-set per exercise routine is going to produce better or greater metabolic stress and greater disruptions to homeostatic balance than a single set per exercise routine. And those physiological disruptions may lead to better training adaptations over time. And as stated, it allows for multi-joint movements, which are likely to transfer to improve sports performance. Here are the references cited for this video, and thank you for watching.